Hello, I'm APX Toycat, and today is a good day for the Let's Play because I found a netherite ingot in this chest. If I combine this with the 8 in my armory, I can make a beacon netherite again, and so the museum is saved. I can even place the wall underneath it to make it look just a little bit better, but today's Let's Play is about something even more important than the beacon netherite because you might have noticed my outro screen uses the TU1 tutorial world. What you might not have noticed, what most people did not, is that I subtly switched this to the Let's Play version of it recently, and so this is what my tutorial world looks like. Wow, isn't that nice? And this is the background of it. It's kind of lacking right now, but I figured I could update this slightly, and that's what I'm doing, because this is an area which does exist in the TU1 tutorial world, and so today I'm going to be building a tribute to it, but since it's so old, I figured that tribute should be underwater. So that is my plan. Build the TU1 tutorial village, the first ever village to exist in Minecraft console, but build it with this underwater effect to show it being kind of abandoned. Is this a good idea? I guess we'll find out as we go along, but join me as we try anyway. So step 1 is obviously to bring out the shulker box full of ingredients I'm going to be using today. This is a box full of grass, and I'm going to place that now under the water. And do you want to know what the best thing about placing grass underwater is? You're going to absolutely love this one, trust me. That's right, oh yeah, just look at that reverse spreading. If you find it really satisfying to watch grass slowly spread, maybe you also find it satisfying to pick up some grass blocks of Silk Touch and place them down, which is what I'm now going to do for the rest of this area, because obviously the TU1 tutorial had this big village near spawn. We have to build that much bigger than just 2 houses. I've got to admit, at first I was being sarcastic, but you've got to admit it is satisfying, slowly watching the grass be turned back into dirt. I mean, that's what the game slowly needs from this. So yeah, we're actually going to be placing grass everywhere, including underneath the villager houses. I think they have some actual floor they use as the bottom of their house, but we're going to be using this so we can place whatever thing we need to on top of that. Indeed, we're also going to be placing it below where the gravel is. Actually, I like the idea of using leaves a lot more. So we'll use leaves as our gravel placing block. And what we're also going to need to do is get some oak logs in here so we can finish these houses. Although actually, yeah, looking at these houses, if they're going to be underwater anyway, maybe it's better we don't use real flooring in here. I think this makes perfect sense what we're doing. Just keep on placing grass underwater. And so that is the very rough layout that the village has so far. Each of these little tangents, besides this one over here, which will go to a cave, will go to some form of building, and then each of those buildings is going to look a little bit like this. Honestly, this was before NPC villages existed in Minecraft, so they are very unimaginative versions of villages, but now we have to go ahead and build the ground on which each of those houses will exist, because obviously right now this is just a floating pathway. Or honestly, is it floating, or is it like, if it's in the middle of water, it's not floating because it'd be at the top. It's just a floating in water pathway. It's just a half sunken pathway. And so we need to, what is the term? I really don't know. Anyway, what we need to do is we need to place dirt around all of this to actually make it make sense and also to hide the leaves that are keeping my gravel afloat. I think if you get absolutely nothing else from this video, I think it should be that trying something new is always a good thing. And honestly, I'm just really getting some weird feelings from placing underwater, which if you like weird feelings, Minecraft is the place for you. But especially doing weird things in Minecraft, which honestly is part of the reason why I'm always doing stuff like this. But anyway, let's fill this all out, shall we? Wait a minute, I just saw a guardian kill a squid, and I thought I was hallucinating it, but if you go into the water, you wait for it to stabilize, there are just guardians here. There are guardians around the TU1 tutorial, and that's just something we're not going to question. There's no way there was an ocean monument there. I definitely didn't destroy one. I guess they must have retroactively put an ocean monument there without the structure. I don't know how that works. I'm just going to not question it. I have guardians now. Is that useful? Probably not. But you better believe I'll take advantage of it eventually. Anyway, speaking of taking advantage of things. Speaking of taking advantage, I now have this huge land mass right here that is kind of missing some definition because it's very flat. Obviously, there were some hills in the base version of this, and if we build those hills now, some of them will actually end up slightly above the water, which I think is going to make this a much more interesting contrast, because obviously, like, you can't really, if this is just all underwater at the same level, it doesn't really have any good vibes, so we need to build things that go above it, and the hills are one such great example. Oh man, I was going back in for the night and it turns out a pillager patrol spawned literally on my bed. You know what, why do I always have the hero, what even is this one, this effect? I don't want it. I don't want to be fighting mobs. I just want to be having a nap right now. Why'd you have to do this to me, guys? In fact, actually, you know what? This is my Let's Play world. I'll just move the bed right into the village where I know there's no monsters because they're all underwater. So, right over there. Problem solved. If you want to see what I'm up to, by the way, outside of killing pillagers and being shot by too many arrows, and also apparently guardians and squids, I'm adding a bit more definition to the coastline of this. I definitely want to go at least as far up as it hits the surface here, because I think that does add something much more interesting to the world. Oh, the pillagers. I was like, how am I getting hit? But of course I'm getting hit by these guys. You know what? You could have left. You could have survived. You would have had a great time. And you would have lived to tell the tale. You might have even seen this build when it's finished, something I'm sure a lot of people are excited for. But no, you had to go and be yourselves, and you ruined it. So yeah, now we're going to have just another layer come out here. We'll work out the defining gaps later, just making sure it kind of looks like it's something. We've got to do some fun stuff with it, where it goes in and out, just to make it look a bit more natural, I think. And then we'll fill in these gaps, and we'll see what it looks like when we're done. Speaking of bringing things out of the water, by the way, I think having grass and land that comes out of it makes a lot of sense, although only so much of that can exist, whereas the main thing that's going to come out of the water is obviously the structures. And it's weird, because last time I tried to work on this, clearly I got through about most of one house, and then the tiniest fraction of another, and I was like, man, this is exhausting, which is, well, clearly something got in my way, because I have not come back to it since, which is why I think what we need to do is put some serious effort into making sure that we actually can do that again. I mean, this is going to be in the background of my new outro, right? I need to make sure this looks good, and so we're going to make sure these houses are fully functional by getting some wood. So first things first, we're going to need a crafting table. This is going to be a... Well, so what did that just craft from? I just made the jungle planks for the crafting table, and the game's like, nah, we'll use the oak anyway. But first things first is to use the crafting table to make a bunch of fences. We're going to need so many fences. In fact, let's actually craft some more planks so we can get some more fences. There are so many fences that are involved in just this village, in every single part of it, honestly. The second step is to look at these village house designs. It's actually relatively simple, because here's the fun thing. This village that I'm about to build right now... Okay, I need to get some more oak planks out. This village I'm about to build right now is basically going to be built in the same way that the 4J developers were doing all those years ago, except this time I'm just in 1.20 Minecraft. It's a weird thing to imagine, right? That you're doing effectively the same thing that someone else has already done, but that is the exact situation I find myself in. So we're also going to put some logs over here. They go in like a little T-shape right here, so that we can put some roofing on the entire thing, and then that means we have to do the exact same thing on this side. So it's log. Oh wait, we can't jump in water. It's log, and then it's log, and then there's a little bit of glass in between, and then there's even some... Man, there's a lot of blocks that are going to be used here. Maybe I should dedicate a third inventory slot to blocks here. Then we have some cobblestone, which goes on top of this, but underneath the glass. Glass blocks were all the rage back then. And then on top of this, we use more oak planks, or oak logs or whatever, and we use those to make the exact same little trifecta right here. Also, very, very hard to jump when you're around water. Okay, why would you want me to swim there? Okay, so here you can see, place the exact same thing. And now all we've got to do is place the planks and the wood to connect this to that, to finish up this back wall over here, and also to have the roof be covered. And so as soon as I wake up to... do you want to see me go to sleep? Do you want to do something weird, internet? Do you want to watch me sleep? We don't usually do that, but just today there's a giant spider that will also be joining us, because that's a great thing. I remember when, the thing about this being like basically the same thing that's already been done though, is something that gives me a bit of anxiety. Whenever I'm working on a project like a tribute like this, or even, we could say it's a direct copy if we want to, but whenever I'm working on something like this, I always get that feeling of like, ooh, is this like fully okay? Like, this is a thing that's already been done. This isn't originality. Isn't the whole point of Minecraft that you add your originality to the game? Aren't people going to hate the fact that you're building something that already exists in your world? And, ignoring the fact that there's lots of things in my world that already exist, that it's already a wide phenomenon in this world, I think there is a much more interesting point about, like, yeah, remaking stuff in Minecraft. A lot of people, I think a lot of people would feel like I feel myself self-critically, that like, yeah, you've got to always be building something unique in Minecraft, and I do think that's always a good thing to aspire for. I think, ultimately, creativity is much more interesting when you're trying to make something new, or at least when you're having fun with stuff. However, I also do think that ultimately, there is some amount of copying that is built into the creative process. This doesn't mean you should just always copy all the time, and it's fine, because everything's always copying, man, so it's basically like I'm not doing that. I don't think that is true at all. I think that is, in fact, the opposite of true. But what I do think is correct is that there is always going to be some amount of similarity between things. There's always going to be some amount of, like, no matter, whenever there's a successful something in a genre, also, I think we have to make a doorway in this. I don't know how I forgot a doorway for a house, but I did. There we go. Made a doorway. Now I just need to put some blocks here, so that it stays above ground, I guess. So let's use a piece of gravel. Wow, now, actually wait, does the gravel pathway go into the house? No, I think the house starts with, whatever, we'll work that out later. But yeah, there's a really interesting, man, this is a very rough outside of a house, but it's all coming together slowly. There's no way it doesn't have windows on the side like this, right? There's no way that's true. I'm using a very particular angle of the village to work from it, but I guess we'll accept that as fact for now. And what we'll also accept as fact for now is that we're also going to need some posts, because these fences are going to come in handy too. There are so many fences around this village, and these fences have little wonderful little lights on them. So we're going to destroy this, place a plank, destroy this, place a plank. And this is the handy thing about building underwater, by the way. In case you think, like, no, building underwater must be terrible, Toy Cat. Look at this. I can place my blocks, and it's wonderful. But yeah, I do think there is a certain... Also, that was not wonderful. There is a certain amount of the creative process that almost inherently involves copying from people, because the whole human process involves that to some extent. I mean, if you think about it, right? To build in Minecraft at all, to do anything inside this game, you're relying on all sorts of technologies that were created by someone else. I mean, you're relying on your mobile phone or your game console to begin with. You're not stealing their technology to build something else. You're building on top of it. The person who created, the Mr. iPhone, I believe is his name, probably doesn't care that you're sitting there using his iPhone to watch a video. Mr. Android or Mr. Gates, if you're playing on an Xbox also, he does not care that you are playing on his device to make your own videos. That's a perfectly acceptable use of it. And to go a step further, right now, I'm just making a thing in Minecraft. Minecraft is the game. You could argue they're the ones behind all the responsibility. Like, ultimately, all the creativity. They're the ones responsible for the creativity, is what I meant to say. You can make a really good argument that that's actually the case. Also, it's going to be fun because these lights are going to barely poke out of the water. But, technically, if the torches can be affixed to them, we might as well. It'll stop drowns from spawning around here too. But yeah, there's a really fun point to be made that, like, yeah, everything requires things that have been built before. And I think that if you think about, like, storytelling, this is the best example of it. Almost every story that's been told has been told before, but we work out new and more imaginative ways to do so. Like, remakes of movies are always a contentious topic, but we're always remaking movies to some extent when we make new ones, because that's just the nature of creation, as best I can tell, is we're always, I remember hearing that, like, basically, this was a thing I heard in my English class, so, take this with as many grains of salt as you take an English professor, but she was like, yeah, honestly, every story that's ever been told fits into one of 7 categories, and it's all pretty much the same elements, regardless of which of one of those 7s it is. And I used to be super skeptical of that, but the more I see that every action movie has the same pacing of, like, the guy tries to do the thing, he fails, or, the guy, is asked to do the thing, he says no, then he tries to do the thing, he fails, then he tries again and he succeeds. That's every superhero movie ever, it's everything, there's so many, you might think I was describing some particular movie, but the truth is that is just every movie that has ever been made. Also, what I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to place... This is going to be a little... this is the well that exists in the center here. On top of this main block, there is 2 of these fence posts. Got to really get better at placing them down. And then on top of those fence posts, I'll make some bricks, because on top of that, we're going to have... This is fun. This used to be a very rare item back in the TU1. If you remember, you remember. It's one of the rarest items to ever strike Minecraft. And they gave you 16 of them in the first village. Funnily enough, they've never used this village structure since, because again, this was just a console port of the game. They made their own idea of what a village should be, and then later had to implement the proper one. But I've always had a soft spot for this particular well, and that's why I'm enjoying building it for my little village right now. But yeah, isn't it satisfying to see that what was once a destroyed building and a half is now becoming more than one building, huh? I think using these stone blocks is going to add some more intrigue to it, because obviously these stone blocks should actually be. Also, see, some people accuse me of having too many crafting tables, but do you see how I just had to spend 5 seconds of my life swimming to this one? Like, how can you think that is a good idea? How can you honestly say to yourself and not feel bad about yourself at night and say, yeah, swimming 5 seconds every time you need to go to your crafting table, that's a good idea? Because it's not a good idea, I tell you. It's actually, I would go as far as to say, a bad idea. So let's do something fun and let's have opposite ends of this. So when this was first built, there was no stone block. This is a really new Minecraft block. If you're new to the game, you might not know that, but this block has only existed for not that long, even though the slabs have existed forever, because Minecraft is weird that way, I guess. So yeah, now we can place these two over there, and then we can finish with another stone block. I kind of like the contrast, because again, it's theoretically the same block, but it feels so different. And now this is my well. The well's a little bit pointless now because, well, I mean, but I think leaving that like that should be a fun little way in and out of the village if I do happen to be underneath there for whatever reason. I really shouldn't be underneath the village, but if I was, I'd have a good way to get myself out. And now I can build a few more of these light posts. I think I'm going to try and center these around this. Yeah, each of the corners we'll place 2 of these blocks. We'll get some wood going over here, like this right there. And yeah, this will keep mobs from spawning. Isn't that nice? Anyway, yeah, I think ultimately, sometimes you get this like feeling of like you're going to do something like what already exists, and it's really important not to go too similar. I think remaking something that already exists is the worst idea. One of the best pieces of YouTube advice anyone will ever give you is don't try and make the same videos as your favorite creator, because that creator already exists. You know, a lot of people try to Mr. Beastify their content, but the truth is people already like the one channel that is known for that, and they might watch an imitator, but they're never going to be that interested in it in the long run, because why would they? They already have the creator they care about. And the same thing is true for most things. If you make something unique, you can create your own fan base. If you make something that is interesting, then you'll actually get people interested in what you're doing. But if you just make something that's a loose copy of something that already exists, it won't really work as well. Also, there's even more of these fence posts. There's one way over here somewhere. I think it's going to go in front of the house that's going to go over here. So we'll just for now place down. You know, we have to place a different block. Okay, let's place a dirt. Hope no one notices. Place a fence post. And then on top of that, we'll place another plank, which we can get from over here. And then, just like that, we've got another fence post that I'm sure won't look any different to the rest. No one will even notice. This isn't like the rest of them. But yeah, look, now there are real structures in this village. It's all coming together nicely, right? All we've got to do is get some more wood and build another house. Maybe another couple houses, honestly. I always feel so wasteful when I fly across my Minecraft world just because I forgot one block. But sometimes it's what you gotta do, right? I mean, where else am I gonna find oak on such short notice? It's such a hard to find block. It's one of the rarest ones in Minecraft. Trust me, that's true. Don't fact check that. Just like how you shouldn't fact check. I said I'd give an explanation of what I'm doing in the United States. And so, you know what? I'll give you the hard truth of that once I get back. Wait, just to go back to the start of this video, I thought I was so short on netherite ingots, but I just had 8 netherite scrap laying around waiting to be used for later. I can't believe how many netherite ingots I've been missing out on. So now I just have to combine those with my weird golden nuggets, which for some reason are sitting in nugget form, and I can have some netherite right now? It's that simple? My god, I can't believe how, you know, losing things in Minecraft is one thing, but losing netherite, oh man, that's a whole different game. But yeah, one of the things that actually has had me, you know, having a hard time with, you know, explaining, like, the whole situation that brought me to the US, then away, then back to it, and then kind of away from it and saying like, okay, this is my last time. You know, the situation that brought me into all of that is like, it's a story that's like really easy, you know, like it's a really generic one. There's something about reproducing things that already exist that just is really, you know, like having a story that isn't unique is kind of boring. I love having unique stories, like the time I woke up on someone's shed when I was a teenager after maybe doing some teenager things. Like, you know, there's the time I walked home like 11 miles because of the, there's a lot of really, really silly, like dumb stories in my past that are like dumb, but I'm also like, well, that's fun. But at the same, and also, wow, look, we actually did it. We've got 2 complete houses minus this roof over here. If we just ignore that, it's done. And that's wonderful. But, yeah, I do feel a little bit like, you know, having having like just a bland generic story, that sucks. You know, no one wants to have like a normal story. And so like that's why the story of me being in the US, it's like a tale as old as time, right? The whole like, oh yeah, well, sometimes you get yourself in a situation where you're making a lot of life decisions around someone because a lot of people, myself included, get very convinced that like, yeah, actually, someone is what the life is going to be based around, and it's a very important part of it at least. And then maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe that thing falls apart, and then that leads to having a space that was for two people, and now it's for one. And that's my living situation explained right now. It's like, yeah, obviously, my plan was to live here for a couple of years. A lot of things got in the way. Some of those things were legal, some of those things were relationship, and so now I'm in a weird place as I record this. But I say it's a weird place, but it's ultimately one that I do actually kind of like. I mean, obviously, no one wants to. No. Also, wait. I've got an idea. I'm gonna try and force the game to give me a crafting table made from jungle planks. If I've only got the jungle planks in my inventory, it has to. There we go. Okay, that shouldn't have been hard. It probably isn't hard for most people, but it was hard for me. Damn it. Anyway, yeah. I think there's a really interesting thing in like just telling stories that have already been told is one of the things I never like to do, because everyone's already heard the generic like, oh yeah. Like, isn't it crazy how you start really liking each other and then at some point that pulls... it's not an interesting tale to tell. It's the same with, like, I don't know, like, I never really dive into the dark specifics of, like, like me as a teenager, because it's just like, yeah, I feel like a part of being a teenager is going through these super rough times, and so to act like they're unique to you after the fact... It's a little bit rich. I mean, maybe that's me being too self-critical, but it's how it always feels to me. It's like, yeah, of course, everyone feels like they're going through something unique, because of course we do. Like, we're all, if we didn't feel like we were going through unique things, then we wouldn't be human, or something like that. Also, yeah, this house I'm building at the back here is like a really, really weird one. It's got like a wooden porch with a wooden roof above that porch, and I'm just not going to question it too much and just build it. This is what you got to do sometimes. You just got to look at, here's a fun example. I'm now recreating something that by modern building standards is considered to be awful, right? Like, what even is this? Why does this exist? But at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, that makes it more charming. Recreating some, like, this is something I've noticed with fashion. Maybe you've noticed it too. I'm not a big fashion guy, but the things that are cool or interesting, that are like in, is always going in and out of style. Like right, it used to be that wearing tight clothing would show off like, oh yeah, you've got something body style, and that would be good. And then it switched to being like, oh yeah, if you're wearing tight clothing, you're trying too hard. So if you're wearing super baggy clothing, that's cool because it shows you don't even care. Or every fashion goes through like trends and waves like that of like, yeah, this is cool, and then when the cool thing gets too well known about, it stops being cool. And also there's still Guardians. Actually, with this late in a video, I always forget to, do you want to have some face cam for this Let's Play? Do you think that adds anything? Do I seem more human to you right now as I tell you that, yeah, see, I'm just covering up my Totem of Undying. Do you need this internet? Is this an addition to your day? But, yeah, I think, there is a really... Also, do you think the porch should start... Yeah, I think the porch is going to end over here. We're going to have 2 4 wide... Oh, wait, not 4 wide. I guess they're going to be 3 wide. And then the window is going to be where that block is. Yep, we'll just go with that. And then that's going to create some very interesting shapes. And we're going to put some glass in there. And then we're going to pretend that it's a house for now. I think ultimately, yeah, like doing things that have already been done is like a big source of anxiety for a lot of people. But I think it's just always important to have your own touch. Maybe my version of that story is, yeah, it's a thing a lot of people have gone through. But have you done it internationally? Wow, I bet not. See, I have to have the US flag, or this just looks like an empty white box. Which, to be fair, like I think empty white boxes is what American apartments look like. But like, I don't think Americans realize that. It's funny, right? There's something there's this weird fact where people, the things that represent something are not actually the things that best represent it, but instead what best represents it in your mind. So my Let's Play house, the most beautiful build in the world, or these houses right here, these would be a terrible house to live in, right? I mean, Just, I mean, ignoring that it's underwater. If you look at it, it's right, yeah, there's one doorway in, there's a window on either side, so you get no privacy. Your house is always being looked into. But it represents a house because it has all the key features. It's got it's got windows, it's got a roof, and it's got, like walls and a doorway. Those are the things that represent a house, and so representing those things that mean a house is actually more important than trying to have a valid house, at least as far as most people are concerned. And I think that's a really interesting thing, personally, like that we're almost trying to, okay, so now I'm going to have, there's a base of a house I'm going to build. They're 5 blocks by, like, I don't know, 7 or something. So we'll go, like, just over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll go about 7 blocks alongside this. And we'll see what we make. We're slowly adding to the footprint of this place. And wherever there's a pathway inwards, okay, there's not a pathway inwards. We'll make one over here. That's where the door frame can go. Boom, wonderful. If this house was 1 block wrongly sized, would anyone even notice? Maybe is an important question. But yeah, there's a did you enjoy looking at my face? I'm gonna make it go away now, just in case you liked looking at my totem. But no, yeah, more seriously, I think there is a really there's a really profound fear in doing things that have already been done that lead us to do things basically in cycles. Like we end up repeating the mistakes of our ancestors, not because we're trying so hard to, but because we're trying to do different things to our, like if you try to do something different to your parents and your parents try to do something different to your grandparents, you might end up doing the exact same things that your grandparents did, right? And that sort of thing ripples through society at large, I would say. Like we're always trying to do different things, and by doing different things, we end up doing the same things. By trying to do the exact opposite of fashion, you end up recreating fashion, but from a couple of decades ago. And, conveniently enough, there's a bunch of that clothing out there, and it's very easy to just, reuse it if you want to. By trying to build terribly, eventually you just go back to how we used to build things back in 2012, when this was, for most people, one of the more impressive builds they'd ever seen. It's like, wow, can you believe this? They're whole houses, and they're just in the world. Minecraft worlds, this is not the norm, like to have things already built in there. So to have any level of build in there, let alone full-on houses, that was nuts. That's why the NPC village blew our minds. And so yeah, I think this like constant reversion, constant changes, followed by changes away from those changes, it does lead us in cycles sometimes. But I think the thing that makes that less scary, because I think sometimes about the phrase like, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And it's like, yeah, we're all doomed to repeat history because none of us are learning from it. Like that's that's what I take from the current world. But it's crazy because on the one hand, that is a scary message that like, yeah, we all are meant to be learning from things, and we're all just choosing not to because it's convenient for our beliefs, it seems. And even though that's kind of scary on the one hand, I think the cool thing is every time we go through this iteration, we are making things slightly better. Is my face cam laggy? I think it is. Look at that. I gotta turn it off now for sure. I think the one thing that is sure is every time we go through a new iteration of something, we do make it slightly better than the one before. This is actually, you might notice on the channel, there's a slight shift towards tutorials. I used to make almost exclusively on this channel, just tutorials, how to do things. Then I kind of shifted away into like fun content near exclusively. And so for a lot of people, if you haven't, it's weird because there's a lot of blending between the two of them. Like a lot of my fun stuff has this tutorial tone. I like to teach people things. It's my favorite thing to do. I'm moving back to like explicitly like tutorial titles and stuff like that, right? And, for a lot of people, it's like, wow, Toycat's going for something new. But actually, it's like, no, I'm actually doing something I used to do, but hopefully doing it a lot better. I want to make, the best, most concise, useful, while also being in-depth and actually I want to be able to dive into all the weird, fun tangents of a topic. That's my favorite thing about any subject. Learning about it are the weird tangents of, what does this mean for that? What does this mean for that? What does this mean for that? The TU1 tutorial world even, if we discussed it a little bit, it's like, so there was a TU1 tutorial world, but you can't access it anymore? No, the only version that exists are ones that you can download, or, if you're on a console or something, you can download the version that's in my Let's Play world. But then here's the more interesting question. Wait, if this is a near exact copy, I I tried as accurately as I could to make it a replica. If this is a near exact copy of the tutorial world, then how is it in your world? Aren't you committing some form of copyright infringement or trademark or something? And that's a really interesting question. You know, kind of going back into the we're always building and stuff from before. Is this building on top of the tutorial world, or is it just a copy? Personally, I think like it's definitely straddling the line. A lot of people do copy my builds, and I absolutely love when they do. I encourage you, if you haven't built a ToyCat Let's Play house and you want to, please do it. I love seeing those so much when I do the Realm reviews. But as far as the question of like, also look at the village. It's come so far today, right? I think we need a lot more wood. I keep underestimating how many stacks of wood it's going to require. But for now, we've got something good. There's another house that goes right next to it, by the way. Just over here. It's like a little 2-block gap or so. And then we have another house that goes over here. See how it's already got the door ready? Wait, I guess the door goes there. So we'll just mirror that house perfectly, but have it go over here. Wow, nice and easy, huh? Nice and easy indeed. But yeah, the funny thing is like, is this whole world a copyright infringement, or like, is it actually? I think the reality is like 4J, probably would be cool with it. It's a tribute to one of the greatest games, but theoretically they might choose not to be. It's one of those things where you have to like find it out as it goes into the world. But ultimately, I think like. And here's the interesting point. This isn't a perfect copyright. It's inspired by heavily. It's clearly going after looking as close to the same as it can, but it isn't going to look the same because it just doesn't. I'm doing every now and then I'm messing up some blocks. I'm doing some stuff very slightly imperfectly. What does that mean for the whole thing? And the answer is, if we knew, then we'd be able to tell you, but we definitely do not know. Also, I think that house was meant to go here. And then that house is this house. Yeah, I think I have to, I think I made a mistake here, internet. But that's okay. We all make mistakes sometimes. Just sometimes the mistakes are bigger than others. So then we build up from there. And then we build... Yeah, for this house, we'll have the door be in the middle. And then, yeah, look at that. Everything's going wonderfully. Also, did you hear that? I really don't like that. Yeah, having guardians around here is like a blessing and a curse. On the one hand... It's cool to have an ocean monument basically exist. On the other hand, it's kind of messy. But yeah, so speaking of kind of messy, that is the situation that brings me to the US. I can explain it a billion times in a billion ways, but it never feels like a particularly unique story. The truth behind it is just sometimes love gets messy. Sometimes, ultimately, even more messy than that is like, sometimes you make like very serious decisions based on information that changes. And you can feel like an idiot when you've done that. You can feel like you've made a real mistake. But it's one of those things I think the best thing to do is to say, yeah, well, of course you made decisions based on the information you had at the time. Now you can make decisions with the new information you have. You can never assume that, like, you're dumb not to have known things you can't have known. It's in the same way that you shouldn't feel dumb you didn't buy the right lottery ticket, and you also shouldn't feel dumb that you didn't invest in Apple in the 1990s. Because if someone had told you to invest in Apple in the 1990s, you either wouldn't have money, you wouldn't be born, or if you did have money, you'd say, no, you're an insane person. You're the equivalent of someone telling me to buy, I don't know, like, Beyond Meat stock right now or something. I think I said, like, a couple of years ago, I said at the very start of the Let's Play that people should buy Nintendo stock. I think it's, like, in episode 6 of the Let's Play, and then it went up huge. It went down quite a bit because of the Wii U, and then it went up hugely, and it's like, yeah, at any point in time, I can seem smart or not smart just based on numbers going up and down. That doesn't make me any smarter or less smart, and so you shouldn't make investment decisions based on what I say, but maybe, just maybe, you can make the decision to subscribe to the channel to see my new and improved outro screen. This isn't what it's going to look like. Wait, just imagine... Whatever, don't imagine. Thank you very much for watching this video, and thank you especially to those of you who choose to subscribe. I hope that you enjoyed seeing me work on my underwater village, and I look forward to doing more of that in the future. But for now, I'm going to enjoy Vegas the best I can, and take advantage of the best of a bad situation, which honestly isn't an overall bad thing. But what you can enjoy that isn't bad is this outro screen.